Let's hello, you lovelies, and welcome to KoiCast. I am Koi Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people. This is episode 2 of the new wave of phase 2 of KoiCast. This would typically be the hot and hotline heavy episode, and though it still will be, it'll also be a conversation with me and Jake about Valentine's Day. Jake, how are you feeling this fine holiday of love?
Good. Let's see. Valentine's Day is what day again? 16th?
14th.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
But we're in the vibe.
Oh, I missed it, you guys.
You missed it. You're in trouble now. You're in the doghouse in the past future.
Valentine's Day was yesterday.
And you're only finding out in January.
I thought it was tomorrow.
I mean, how many years have been alive to not know February 14th? It's the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It's
28 days. It's a short month.
Oh, that's where they get you.
That's how they get you. Yeah. And what month's 32 days?
They skim those two off the top.
What month's 30? 16's half of 32. I don't even understand what day, how that would work. At best, you get 15.
Do you know any leap year babies?
That's the 29th. Yeah. I know one. Yeah, one. I only know one.
One of my, the guy that I played in bands with in my early 20s. He was like my musical soulmate of the era. He was a leap year baby, and every year he switched his birthday from the 28th to the 1st.
Oh, that's fun.
And was just like, I get to fucking pick.
Sometimes he's a March baby. I like that.
Yeah. Also, I think my biological dad might also be a leap year baby.
So
which means like at this point I'm older than him. I think.
Yeah, I think.
But I'm not sure about that. I think it's a question mark.
He might be like 13, 14.
I'm sure I could find out.
That's very funny.
He's
a teenager and you're in your 30s.
Anyways, this isn't about leap year. This is about Valentine's Day.
It's about love, you guys.
It's about this corporate holiday invented by the greeting card company.
You know what's funny? The way people feel about award shows is how a lot of people feel Valentine's Day. And just like award shows, I think it has so much merit. I think Valentine's Day is like, if we have holidays like celebrating like any religious thing, like love is as or more tangible than stories. So I think it's really important to celebrate something that is a daily occurrence, which is like it's a pinnacle of love day.
Aww.
And what is life if not love? Like if we can celebrate,
guys.
If we can celebrate war and Columbus and shit and conquering shit and like fucking Thanksgiving killing like indigenous folk, we should celebrate love itself. Like it's the American thing of violence being okay but not sex. Like love's about fucking, and like that's dope. I think love's a really special thing. I love Valentine's Day.
Yeah, don't look up the origin of St. Valentine though.
Oh, is it like St. Patrick where it's like homeboy and snakes? Is there a Valentine?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I was afraid he was like a diddler.
He's like the saint of courtly love, which to me kind of just sounds like not the saint of not knowing that no is a. Do you know what I mean? Like
the saint of bros, like the saint of like the saint college of dorm bros,
the saint of breaking her down.
Jesus, courtly love.
Courtly love, which always just sounds to me like it means
like Kurt Cobain's wife.
It means that she. Oh, I see. Courtly love. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, to me it just sounds like a person who was,
who accepted
one day.
Jesus.
One day this will work out.
But I think it's really interesting how people have made this the Hallmark holiday and not like fucking Christmas. Like all holidays are just as corporate if they get big. It's like when people get mad at IPs and studio films, it's like, well, that's what success. Like when a band sells out, I'm like, I'm sorry they succeeded. Like it's so funny when people get mad at success. And I feel like any major holiday, people are just like, it's too big. I'm like, it's about love.
But with that said, do you like Valentine's Day?
I do because
is it predicated on you being in a relationship?
No, I'm hella single. No, I think it's a day that either makes me look at what love is that I don't have or makes me look at the love that I do have. And I think both are very healthy and important. So like when I'm not in a relationship, it gives me pause to go like, what do I want out of my next relationship? What did I learn from my last relationship? Like, what is it that I'm seeking that clearly I didn't have before because either something failed on my behalf, on their behalf, or on our behalf. Like either way, I need to grow. And if I'm in love, it makes me go like, holy fuck, this is dope. And like, cause love is the most like, I am an advocate for many drugs, but love is like the strongest by far.
Sure.
So I think that love being celebrated, it shouldn't be as cynical as what I think we perceive it as, because that is by nature the opposite of love. So it's really, I don't know, there's an irony to people being like, it's about selling shit. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can interpret it that way.
Yeah, sure.
How about you? What are your thoughts on the holiday?
It's I am a classic rom-com trope of like when I'm single, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I'm in a relationship. I'm like, oh, this is nice. But also, like Alexandra and I, we're getting to that point where we're just like, we're not doing anything for Valentine's Day this year, right? Like, you know, where we're like, we don't. Listen, we just had the holidays. Her birthday is right after the holiday.
Still recovering.
My birthday's the next month.
Yeah,
and we're just like, let's just relax. Like,
we don't quarter one.
No, we don't. Yeah, we don't do a big Valentine's. I think the best Valentine's thing that we ever did, which we might attempt to do again this year, is just go camping.
That's great.
We just go away for, even if it's like a one-night trip where we're like, we drive out early Saturday morning, come back Sunday night, or in her instance, because of her work schedule, that usually is Thursday morning, come back Friday night because she has a weird weekend. Then it's like, that's our Valentine's Day trip. And those have been my favorite Valentine's Days.
I think it's important to make anything special. That's cool.
I also think that the key to Valentine's Day is similar to the key to New Year's, and that is like, make it as low expectations as possible. Low stakes. If you try too hard on Valentine's Day, it's going to suck. You are going to feel like, well, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be in my head.
Also, like the love chemical is serotonin, but the feeling that we get when we're not in love is dopamine, and dopamine is the anticipation hormone. So I think it's really exciting to have something to look forward to. But then if you have too high expectations, like looking forward to something and expectations are different. And I think Valentine's Day falls apart when that line gets blurred. Like I think a box of chocolates can mean as much as a diamond ring if the intent is there.
Right.
So it depends on the person, obviously. And that's like, I won't date people that expect diamond rings over Thanksgiving and like Valentine's Day. But
did you say over Thanksgiving?
I did. I don't know why. I'm not sure.
Why?
It's a weird Thanksgiving tradition in my family.
Bizarre.
It's not.
No, a lot of people don't know that, is that the white man came and they gave the Native Americans
all
diamond rings.
All of them.
Yeah. I read that. I think I read that in a history book in Florida.
They took them back. Yeah. And that was the slur of the time.
Oh,
but yeah, I think it's a very interesting holiday to be angry at, because I even if you don't have someone, you can learn from like the year prior about love. But that's also my New Year's thing. I fucking love the introspection that New Year's bring, because I think that like thought and introspection are so essential to maturing, and nobody does them.
I used to love New Year's from like 25 to like 35. And now
I've only got one left.
And now I don't like. Now New Year's has become frustrating.
Oh, interesting.
Because New Year's used to be about like looking to the year ahead.
Yeah.
And it's become like
looking to the year ahead.
No. It's become like, shit, this year is over already. It's like looking at the year that passed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not healthy. Not healthy.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, again, this is Valentine's Day episode. I thought maybe it would be fun to suggest some of our favorite rom-coms
into it. And I was thinking also on top of that, some comic couples.
Yeah, some favorite or comic like storylines, like lovey storylines.
So let's start with rom-coms, because those are both of our favorite genre top 5.
I was curious about this, and so I threw up our Letterboxd. This is going to be really upset that guy that left us the review from Mexico.
Oh, let's get back into Letterboxd.
I have given 18 movies that, at least according to Letterboxd, are listed as romance. I would argue some of these I wouldn't put in that category.
Okay.
18 romance movies, 5 stars.
Now, is romance, does that include comedy? Because I haven't clicked it yet.
Well, it does. There is no rom-com genre.
Got it.
So when you go to like your movies.
Oh, I got it. Romance, right? Got it.
Oh, wait a minute. But I guess you could click 2. I guess you can write
I could write romantic comedy, but let's do romance, because I think Valentine's Day doesn't have to be funny.
And most of these, they're a little both. But yeah. I've given 18 of them 5 stars that they consider romance.
That is a lot.
Some of these, again, I put an asterisk on romance. 3 of my 18 5-star romantic movies, which I think are tied, when I look at this list of even movies that I've given 5 stars, tie for what I think are my 2 most favorite romantic things.
Sure.
3 of them are all grouped together. Of course, that is the Before trilogy.
Of course.
So
they should be.
I have all 3 of them are 5-star movies, which is absurd for a
trilogy of any kind.
Of any sort of series.
Or even for a director to have.
Like, you know what I mean? 100%.
Good God damn, are those movies good.
So I think Before Sunset, Before Sunrise, and Before Midnight are the best, are the most romantic. And they're not romantic because they are exclusively sweet and good, because they get very dark and very sad and very bitter
in a hurry.
but they're just so good and so romantic.
Yeah.
Like they're so good.
I don't just, you know, it's funny. I don't have as many 5 because
I know you only have like 25 in the
life,
world.
21. Yeah. A total. But I probably
I have almost as many just
romance
movies
as I consider 5-star in the planet. But I have 22 4.5 star, which might be the biggest chunk of a genre. Like,
right.
I think there's probably more romantic movies that are 4.5 star than any singular other type film.
Right.
Because I love romance movies.
It takes me a long way to scroll down past my 4.5s to get to 4. So I have quite a few.
I think we both love romance movies.
We really do.
Like we're suckers here on Koicast.
Now, what about you? So you have no 5-star romance?
I have no 5, but I got the Before Sunset.
Well, somebody who loves love so much doesn't love any of them enough to give 5 stars.
But you know what I don't believe? I don't believe in perfect love. I think love's work. 4.5 stars.
Yeah, that's why the Before movies deserve 5 stars, because that's exactly what they represent.
They do, but I don't think they're perfect. I think they're near perfect, much like a relationship.
Oh boy.
You heard me. But a lot of my favorite films in here are like, holy crap, favorite movie, not just great movie.
Right, sure.
Like it's not just like
I have one of my 5 stars that falls under the both rom and com category, and it's very generic. But you might, I don't know if you have it as well.
I have a lot of, I was gonna go the other way. I have a lot of really sad that I love the sadness of it.
You're like, I only love romances where one of them dies.
It has to end badly. No, but like Eternal Sunshine, I consider extremely romantic.
That is the very first one that comes up on my list.
Yeah, it's my 4.5.
5 stars as 100%.
But so romantic and
very
like
much
so beautiful, so fucking sad.
Yes, very, very sad.
What's your second one?
Well, I don't think I should go through all of them because
but I'm just curious because we have the same first. That's right.
My second one actually comes up as Little Women, and again, these are organized once your group is the same. Like for example, these are all
then
5
it's the
stars.
Next highest.
No. Then it organizes Letterboxd organizes them by popularity.
Right.
So that's why. So there's no actual.
There's no rhyme or reason.
No, this order.
So yeah, my what was your plan for organization?
I was just gonna go stick with the com elements.
Okay.
Of the other one in my top 5 of my 5 stars here, which of course. People might think that it's a little obvious on the nose, but When Harry Met Sally, I think it's it is, in my opinion, the rom-com by which all rom-coms are judged.
I think by which they are judged. Yes, it's not my favorite though, but I understand why they're judged against it because I really enjoy it. I think the best rom-com of all time is recent, and that is rare, and that's Crazy Stupid Love. I think Crazy Stupid Love is as close to perfect.
I think I have that up here in my 4 or 4.5, somewhere in there. But I have that in my 4, and it gets a like though. By the way, I think that if you were to go through just my likes on Letterboxd,
we'd have a lot more in common.
Well, no. Also, I would say that would be mostly
roms,
the roms, because I feel like that's so much of the independent spirit and so much of like those movies. Even it's like there's always that slash. I feel more with romantic overtones than any other genre now that I think about it. Like action, I'm like riveted and I walk out and I think about some scenes. Comedy, I rarely rewatch. Horror is not for me. I think romance is the most sticking with me. Right.
Because I resonate with like the in the day, the before and the after. Like I think about it way more. Maybe that's why there's so many 4.5s.
There's another rom-com that I also give 5 stars that doesn't get enough credit for the rom element of it because its most memorable moments are somewhat raunchy or outlandish comedy.
What do you got?
The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
I've got Forgetting Sarah Marshall really high up.
Oh, interesting.
Which it's very similar. Right, that's love.
Yeah, those are both really incredible. Forgetting Sarah Marshall is such a adorable rom-com in the sense like the way that they fall in love is so incredibly sweet and
passionate and interesting.
They're also like both really charming.
Oh my god,
like,
all 4 of them. Yeah. The whole lead cast.
I like that 40-Year-Old Virgin isn't young people.
That's
in that
fair.
sense, it's 40-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, and Steve Carell and I forget her name who plays his romantic interest in that. She's incredible. She's in no. She's in fucking everything. She was in Last Man on Earth and No. Catherine Keener.
Thank you, man. Yeah. I was just scrolling through all of Apatow's
just
regulars.
So good. But yeah, and then a lot of the other ones that pop up on this, like Punch Drunk Love, I'm like, yeah, not a com.
A very recent com that I think is romantic as fuck that people don't talk about enough because it was an original streamer during the pandemic. Palm Springs is so loving and fantastic and so slept on.
I agree.
I think our generation acknowledges it, but not the either direction. Yeah. Like I don't feel like older or younger than us really caught on to that one.
Yeah, my review of that whole movie is find yourself a love that makes you dipshit birthday banners.
Oh,
because it's that's a 4.5 with a like for me.
One of our biggest disagreements, I think, in movies is in the rom.
Which is what?
The Princess Bride.
Oh, that's a 5-star for me. That's
I thought for some reason that was a movie you didn't like that much. That's a near 5-star.
Kidding me? Princess Bride is like a
that's like a fucking perfect movie. Okay, good.
Yeah.
For whatever reason,
Not
I
me.
mean, it's Billy Crystal.
That's one of your other friends.
I shouldn't have judged that one.
Yeah.
Now my sad little trifecta. I really enjoy how much sadness is in here.
Yeah.
I've got Her, which I think is an incrable love.
Yeah, I didn't like that as much as everybody else did.
I got Blue Valentine, which I watch every breakup.
Yep, that's a movie that I had a hard time starting once, and it's been on the list to rewatch.
Oh,
forever.
interesting. I got Candy, which is one of my favorite Heath Ledger films of all time. And then I've got both Like Crazy and The Rules of Attraction. I've got a lot of bitter, but they're fucking incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some bitter sweets.
I like my trauma to be loving.
I think that this is very interesting in that both a 5 and 4.5 star. I have two versions of the same movie that I think is also one of the best romances ever, and that is Clueless.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Emma.
Oh, very interesting.
Which again are the same.
Two formats.
Clueless is based on Emma,
right?
And like that is a classic. And by the way, I will say if you haven't seen the newest Emma from 2020 with
Anya Taylor-Joy, was it?
Anya Taylor-Joy, and you're like, oh, hey, I want a good Valentine's weekend, because listen, this came out on a Wednesday, which means Valentine's Day was yesterday, Tuesday. Yeah. You're not celebrating shit till this weekend anyway. So this is
we're giving you options.
As far as I'm concerned, this is still relevant.
You're welcome.
Emma is an outstandingly good movie. And if you're like, oh, I don't really like movies of that style, I don't really like genre movies, it's gorgeous to look at. Bill Nighy is so funny in it. So it has comedy in a way that's really unique. And it's one of those like good modern versions of period that updates it enough to make it feel like, if you're not into period stuff, or if you're the sort of person who watch it and you go like, oh, it's kind of boring or whatever, it's not for me. I think that's a good like entry point.
Oh, interesting.
Like the new Emma is a good like, hey, check it out, because I think if you watch that movie, you might think like, oh, you know what? I could try more stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like it's a good
gateway drug.
Yeah. Because it is really, really fun. And there's comedy in it that's like character based and like almost zany.
Yeah.
Like there's fun
like
things.
10 Things. Like I think 10 Things is a great gateway drug.
Also on my list as well.
Yeah. But much like Clueless and stuff, it's a good gateway into that world.
Totally.
One I haven't rewatched that I loved dearly. It actually was for a brief time a 5-star film, but when I didn't rewatch it for 2 years, I had to demote it to 4.5 because I've got standards. That's Call Me by Your Name. I loved that movie.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it yet.
And just all the Armie Hammer stuff has kept me from rewatching it. I don't even know how true any of it is, but watching a man enjoy a boy eat a peach while I think of him eating people is hard.
Right.
But I'm the one I'm going to watch this year, and I've already decided because I haven't watched it in about 3 years. And I think it'll be good for my heartbroken single boy heart is Amelie. I think Amelie is a damn fine
another
film.
One of her favorites that I haven't seen. Yeah.
You've never seen Amelie?
I know, it's been on the list forever.
Oh, that's so special.
I know, it's one of those.
I didn't watch it until about like 6 years ago, and it was one of those rare movies that I watched after all the hype, and I went, within 20 minutes, I was like, I fucking get it. Right. And that is so rare.
Right.
Usually your brain is like, okay, fine. Instead, I was fucking in love.
Sure.
Amelie's so good, dude.
Another rom that I don't think gets enough credit because it's also another slash, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Another 5-star on my list is, people consider it a romance/musical, and that is Once. In my opinion,
that's good
Once
stuff.
is another one of the most beautiful romance movies because it's not just a story about romantic collaboration.
Yes.
But also about what happens in musical collaboration, that magic that occurs. I always talk about one of the most romantic moments, in my opinion, in all of cinematic history is when they first sit down in the music shop in Once, and she starts harmonizing for the first time, and she's at the piano, and Glenn just looks up and glances at her, and he just smiles. I have had that moment musically with people.
That's amazing.
I've had that moment where I have sat down with somebody for the first time that we've never played music together.
Yeah.
And they did a thing that I would never have thought of or expected them to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like you get this warm sensation all of you of like, oh, this is good. This works. And what I love about Once is that they take that familiar moment to musicians and they throw love on it. And they make it like, because it's more, for him in that moment, it's more than just about the music. For him, it's in that moment, it's like, wow, this woman is incredible.
Yeah.
And,
I haven't seen once. This is maybe.
Oh, you haven't seen once?
Maybe that'll be my Amelie double feature.
Wait, you have not seen one of my favorite movies of all time?
Yeah, Amelie's one of mine. So yeah, maybe I'll watch that on Valentine's Day with Amelie. That way
I
I've
can't
got a
believe
guaranteed
you've never
one.
seen once.
I'm gonna make sure it's on my to watch.
Oh my God, one of my favorites of all time. You've never seen it.
There's
a lot of those.
I've got a movie that it's in my watch list now. Now it's high. I've got a movie on here that started an entire tradition of Koicast that I'd never seen, that began my Julia Roberts-a-thon. And that's Pretty Woman, I'm pretty sure, makes the at least top 10 bar setters, along with Harry Met Sally. I'd say Pretty Woman's up there for
Pretty Woman is
things.
definitely there. For me, it's not it's not in the same echelon of A When Harry Met Sally. And I think because it's just simply not as funny.
Yeah.
It's funny rom-com.
Right.
Not funny.
With Rome.
The reason why I love When Harry Met Sally is that the jokes are at they wrote a funny movie that also is beautiful and poignant and romantic, not a beautiful romantic movie that also has some jokes. And that's those two are switched in that.
Yeah, very important distinction. But like a comic movie that's a good movie versus like that's like Winter Soldier to me is like a movie with my guys in it.
Or we've talked about how like the people complaining about comedy being in their comic book movies. Right. Where it's like some comic book movies are comedies first.
Right.
And then superhero movies second.
Yeah.
And that's intentional. And people maybe don't like that.
Yeah.
But
I've got one that actually, as a genre, I want to talk about Nicholas Sparks movies. How do you feel? Because I like them.
I don't think I've seen enough Nicholas Sparks movie.
They're very specific. It's like a highbrow Hallmark movie.
Okay.
So like there's lots of rain. There's lots of like monologues. The Notebook's still the standard for me, but I like Dear John. I like the Zac Efron one. I like Nights in Rodanthe with Richard Gere. Like it's a whole world, and I think they're solid.
How do you spell Nicholas? Is there an H in there?
I think it's an H. I think it's a CH.
I'm trying to look them up so that I have a.
It's a whole world.
Nicholas Sparks, writer for 11. So are you talking about stuff he's just written then? Because I guess he's only a writer.
He's a book writer.
I have literally seen one out of his 11 movies.
What?
I've only seen The Notebook.
Just The Notebook. Wow.
I've never seen it.
So if you like The Notebook, by the way, he's got 10 more.
I do want to say the covers, when you look at the covers.
Oh my God, they're all rain.
And they're all not even that. They're all the exact same image.
Oh, 100%.
It's all a lens flare from the sun behind two people whose faces are close but not kissing.
Mm-hmm. That's love, Jake. You're seeing love.
Yeah, lens
and by the way, and closeness.
A lot of these movies are on my to watch list. I don't think I realized they're all by the same person.
It's a whole genre thing. But the one I don't want to talk about, it's interesting, is I don't think of this as a romance towards a person as much as to a place, and it's actually one of the reasons I want to go to this place. I've fallen madly in love with the idea of Midnight in Paris. I think Midnight in Paris, when you love a place to that level, because I've only felt that towards Ireland and Boston. Like I love New York, but it's not a romantic love. But like I love Boston in a way that like makes me warm, fuzzy, tingle. I can look at a picture of Boston and feel yearning. Right. And I think that Ireland surprised me because like it was like love at first sight. Right. Like in a way that I didn't believe in. So Midnight in Paris, I've always wanted to go to Paris because it's like, of course you want to go to Paris.
Yes.
But watching that movie, I was like, oh, I think I get the idea of loving Paris in a way that feels like generational. And this is before I went to Ireland. So then when I went to Ireland, I thought of Midnight in Paris. So I think that movie accomplishes something unique.
So that's in my top 8 of the 5-star, but that was one of those ones where I go, I don't know that kind of as a I think
it's romance towards the city.
It is. Well, it's also romance between many characters.
But that's secondary.
But it's the fantasy element of it and the sci-fi element of it to me draws so much away from the romance element of it.
Interesting.
When I think of that movie, I don't think of the romance at all. I think of like, oh no, it's a fun fantasy movie.
See, I don't think of the romance between him and her or any of him and hers.
Same.
I think of him and the city.
No, I don't disagree.
And I think that's a really unique, and like I don't love Woody Allen's work choices, but it's one of the movies where when people talk about certain directors, it puts me in a position of like, fuck, I do love that modern.
It's my favorite of his movies by a lot. By a mile.
Yeah, that's the only one I'll even be like, oh, I'll acknowledge liking it.
Well, let's do the thing. Let's go back in the genre and double check and click another one. Let's add comedy to it.
Okay.
We did mention this was going to be rom-coms. So let's talk about our favorite actual rom-coms that come up.
Okay.
The other 5-star one that came up for me that I did not talk about previously before checking comedy, still at the top, Moonrise Kingdom. is an interesting rom-com because it's young love, young romance. But I think
that's important to love.
And it's so good and so charming and unique. And out of all of the ones on this list that comes up, that one to me is the most unique.
I think
no, I'm not sure. That's not true. There's one other one that's come up that's incredibly unique.
Speaking of that one, though, I think it's a very important way to tell that story because it doesn't seem like a director downplaying being young or being young in love. And I think a lot of movies, when there's people young in love, it's like when a parent's like, "Oh, you'll grow up."
Right.
The movie never does that, and I feel like a lot of young love movies are like, "Oh, they're figuring it out."
They're either Romeo and Juliet, which are like, this is the most important thing,
right?
Or it is exactly what you're saying, where it's just like, oh, the parents being like, you don't know.
And I think it's like your first love is so foundational to all the rest of yours. So I love that Moonrise Kingdom didn't Kid Gloves it.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that movie.
And I think that's also just a testament to the way Wes writes people. He writes kids like they're adults.
Well, because he sees them all the same innocent, the same symmetrical innocence.
Yeah.
So I'm in rom-com, and
again, some of these I disagree with as rom-coms, but
yeah, I consider, actually, you know what? This is an interesting one. A rom-com that I love very much, 4.5 stars, that I wouldn't have put in this category, but totally fucking is Secretary. Secretary is such. It's Maggie Gyllenhaal. It's a BDSM movie.
Don't even know this exists. Secretary.
It's so fucking good. James Spader is her boss, and she starts to get basically lustful for him, and she finds out he's into really kinky stuff, and then it's this escalation of this kinky work relationship. And James Spader is not someone I find attractive in any way, but there's something about how it normalizes a very kinky thing, and I think that's important in American culture. But James Spader becomes so captivating in this film.
I just added it to my on deck list, and I also see that it is also on my owned list, which means that this was this was one of those digital merged movies that I think when a buddy of mine and I merged our digital libraries. I'd
be very curious to know what you think of it. 4.5 stars for me. It's high.
Alexandra has seen it, gives it 4 stars according to Letterboxd.
Hell yeah.
I've never even heard of this movie.
Wow, it was a huge indie darling for a bit.
Yeah, it must have been one of the ones that I missed because I'm not as indie as the guy who reviewed our podcast. Again, only mainstream Sundance for me.
3 stars, mainstream Sundance.
Here's a romance, a rom-com that we've mentioned before that I think is one of the best newer rom-coms of recent years. Long Shot. We talked about it.
Oh God, yeah.
Talked about it when I watched it for the first time late last year.
The movie is exceptional.
Long Shot with fucking Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, which is if you're oh yeah, we're making a comedy with those two, you'd be like, oh, so she dumps low life Joe Rogan and meets Pierce Brosnan or
James Marsden, always the other guy.
Yes, exactly. Meets another guy, and it's no. And so what I love about this one is that in the same way that I was talking about when Harry Met Sally, is they made sure they made a really great comedy.
Yeah,
this movie was oh, she's in politics, and there's all these other stories, but none of that ever beats out the movie's main topic, which is romance, which is their relationship.
That's a really great point.
Because a lot of other movies would be well, we're also going to try to sell an important political message.
Right. And there's politics in it, but they're not...
It's not heavy-handed.
It's always the B plot.
And it's very much oh, these just it happens to be a romance about a person in politics.
Yeah.
And the romance is at the forefront. Whereas,
that's the movie I thought we'd see O'Shea Jackson Jr. forever, and he's popped up so much less than I wanted.
Yeah,
he's Ice Cube's kid.
Right.
Where has he been? I want more of him
because he was so fun as the best friend in that.
And he did 3 giant things in a row. And it's rare that when someone comes up, they aren't too in my face.
Right.
Usually there's 3 years where I'm I get it, Ryan Gosling, you're great, but I'm more O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Right.
Beginners, I think we should talk about because your dog's in it.
That's on my next. That's the next one.
Your new dog is great in this movie. I am such a fan of your dog's work.
Bookstore Brown. Beginners is exceptional. If you've never seen Beginners, it's available on Prime Video right now. It is so good. It's so unique. It is one of Ewan McGregor's best performances, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
And he's always good, but he's great in this.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? We totally should. It's not a comedy, but it's a romance movie, and I think it's formative.
I'm sorry, I was just distracted by information.
Totally distracted me. I was what just happened?
Did you know what that dog's real name is?
What is the dog?
Because he's credited. By the way, the dog has a letterboxd. His real name is the original Pod Dog's name, Cosmo.
Oh, I told you it was your dog. That's amazing.
And he looks like Bookstore.
He does.
His name is Cosmo.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Oh my God. His real name is, by the way, in the movie, his name is Arthur.
Guys, fate just aligned in a beautiful way.
Oh, that
I'm
made me
so
really
glad
sad.
that just happened.
I
No,
miss
that's beautiful. That's
Cosmo
like
was the best dog ever lived.
that's a continuation of
Yeah,
goodness.
man. Beginners is fucking outstanding. But you were saying you were gonna
a movie that's it's not a con,
about.
but we should talk about. When it was the first time that I didn't feel like they othered a gay love was Brokeback Mountain. Like
Sure.
I'm sure there were movies before it,
Yeah.
but not to the mainstream level that I would have seen it at that time. And that movie came out some 15 years ago, and I think it was 06, 05, something like that.
Right.
And I think that was the first gay love story that didn't make it a joke or a abnormality in the scale. And
Unfortunately,
I was
pop culture did.
Yeah,
but
the movie did.
The intent of the movie was not to. Yeah.
And I was young when that came out, comparatively, as far as like maturity.
Yeah,
and, like,
I was not the right age when that movie came out because I was just surrounded by, stereotypical teenage homophobes and early 20-somethings who were just like, oh, the gay cowboy movie, you know what I mean? And it was like funny to, you know what I mean?
To poke at.
So 05, so I'm 22 at that point.
Yeah.
Not a good age for that movie like that to come out. And here's the things that I don't remember being critical of it, but I was not the like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. I didn't see it in theaters. I didn't see it until way later.
I was 16 or 17 and I saw it in theaters. So like I was young, 16, 17 in Boston where it was the gay cowboy movie. And I remember being in love with the movie and then having to defend it to people that like wouldn't even understand where I was coming from in defending it. Cause it was just, 15 years ago or 18 years ago, there isn't even a group of people that are standing behind someone defending a gay love story. 100%. So I was like, wait, why is this a position that I'm being put in? Because I don't understand how it's anything else. Look, they just made a love story.
Right.
And I think it was because I like love the actors so much that I went in not going like gay. I went in going like very curious about these two actors I love.
Right.
Oh, and like
look at
being
that.
fucking in. So I think I was uniquely unprepared to talk about it, but prepared to love it. Like, I think the casting made me prepared to love it, but the world I grew up in made me unprepared to talk about it.
Oh, 100%.
So when I look back on that movie, I'm like, I remember getting so much shit and all the gay rumors about me starting, not because I was in theater, but because I loved Brokeback Mountain.
Right.
And now when I rewatch it, it's a really special place in my heart because 18 years later, like I have so much involvement in the gay community in the LGBTQ world that this movie, if it hadn't come so early, I don't know that I would be this far into going like, what the fuck's your problem? Why are you homophobic? Like this movie was really important to planting the seed of like, why are we putting these people in a different box?
Interesting.
And so like that, I think that movie's really foundational to how I see love because I'd only seen like Disney love and like, white girl, white guy kiss. Cool.
Right,
like this was really like, oh shit. Like love is way more things.
Right.
So I love Brokeback Mountain.
I support that. I have a movie that I want to argue similarly to your Midnight in Paris is about love with a location.
Yes.
This is a romance that is indeed very romantic between two people who have an excellent chemistry, but more of a romance for life and life's experiences. This is a movie that I saw for the first time, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Alexandra, it was one of her favorites, and she was like, you got to watch it. Chocolat.
Oh, the Johnny Depp movie.
Oh my God.
I remember you loved this.
It's so incredibly good. And my review of it was, if you don't leave this film with a lust for life, then you're dead inside. Soul-piercingly charming, and maybe one of the best, most well-cast movies ever. That movie is so good. So it's really, really romantic when it wants to be romantic about people.
Sure.
But it's also mostly about what you're doing with your life and whether or not you are in love with the minuscule moments. And all told through the idea of like, how good is this chocolate? Like how good is like loving what you do, experiencing things, paying. It's about like mindfulness in a way, it's very much about mindfulness. But that movie I think is also well-deserved on our list of if you're looking for a romantic movie this weekend.
And not a traditional linear.
Not a linear one at all.
Actually another one that we probably both share as important as a movie and a beautiful love story, but not a fucking normal one, Chasing Fucking Amy. I think Chasing Amy is so exceptionally written for all sides, especially for when it came out.
Did that come up on your list?
I think for rom-com, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've rated that one as highly as other ones because I don't even see the cover for it.
It's my
I'm down and.
So for me, like 97, I gave Brokeback a ton of credit. 97 is like peak fucking American homophobia.
Sure.
And Chasing Amy, like that movie is so nuanced for how it handles all sorts of love. And the way it ends with Banky.
Great.
Fucking genius.
Yeah, it gets shit on a lot because of misinterpretation and people wanting to just dislike Kevin Smith's delivery of information.
Sure. But I think it's fucking his intent is all positive, and I think he actually lands it myself.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, that's outstanding. It's ironically enough, I have Mallrats on my list here.
I have it too.
4.5. Yeah.
Dude, we got to talk about someone we talk about, but let's separate. If we can Woody Allen, we can Mel Gibson.
Sure.
What Women Want is fucking great.
I have said multiple times that I never would have expected Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt to have the insane sexual chemistry in that. The entire time I was watching that movie, I was just like, I'm okay if the third act of this movie just turns into a like softcore porn.
Because it's that good.
They're so fucking sexy in this movie together, and their chemistry is outstanding. I have a hard time believing that they did not cheat on their spouses.
There's no way they did.
Like, I don't know if they were married at the time.
90s was a crazy time. They were fucking.
They are that scene in the fucking diner.
Or maybe they weren't fucking. That's why it was so hot. Maybe they just,
maybe,
you know what I mean?
Maybe
like,
they wanted to.
Maybe there was so much of that, and they were married.
That's what it felt. I mean, that's the movie.
And that's the movie.
Right?
But like, good God.
Them in that booth in the. It's like when they're like kind of flirty and close, but not. Oh my God, so good.
That's some Harry Met Sally shit.
So
I'd put that up there.
Well, and again, I agree. And that is an instance though where they made a really sexy movie that happens to also be a comedy.
Agree.
Whereas again,
because it's a high concept fucking like.
Real
but
good,
it's just really unfortunate that it can't be as beloved. And I did love the new one, but like that movie is also wicked witty. The writing in that movie is genius.
Yes, I don't disagree. I have to throw out one of my indie darlings, one of my quote mainstream Sundance movies, which I just found out, according to this, is available on Peacock Premium and Tubi and Pluto, according to one of my absolute favorite movies by Lee Kirk, who is a writer director who's married to Jenna Fisher, who stars in this movie with one of my favorite actors of all time, Chris Messina, a movie called The Giant Mechanical Man. This is an outstanding movie that it's one of those movies that you go, oh, hey, does this have everything that Jake wants in a movie? Because yes, it does. Does it have living a fulfilling life as an artist versus grinding away at a day job in it? Yep, it has that. Does this have feeling misunderstood in romance and friendships? Yes, it has that. Does this have fucking everything you might want? Does this have an incredible performance by Topher Grace and Malin Ackerman? Because it does. It has absolutely fucking everything. It's so good. The brief premise of the movie is, do you know those like New York City street performers?
Yep.
The ones who like paint themselves silver? Chris Messina is one of those people. He is the giant mechanical man.
Oh, I get it now. Okay.
And meets Jenna Fisher, who, isn't necessarily in love with her status in life and is kind of fascinated with him. And they have one of those romance in the movies where it's almost like, well, these people maybe should not have met. Do you know, like in the beginning, it's like, maybe this is like, and it's like problematic, but it's so well handled, so well crafted. It's really well written. And like the performances are fucking stellar. And it's just one of those little like, movies that every time I bring it up, the people who have seen it all go, oh, I love it. And most people have gone, I never heard of it.
I've got one of those very specifically that stars two of the biggest movie stars of the last 20 years.
Oh.
And it did, I don't guess well, because whenever I bring it up, people haven't seen it. And it was like really well advertised. Love and Other Drugs.
Fucking another movie where we talk about
sensational.
Talk about insane, sexy movies.
Oh my God, that movie's sexy.
That one, let's see.
Both of them are fucking perfect.
I know that one is a 4.5. Oh no, yep, there we go. And
two of the most attractive people of all time.
Yeah,
being
literally
sexy at each other while informing you about Big Pharma being fucked up.
It's not available anywhere. I own it on Blu-ray.
I love this movie. Also, that wasn't a Zach Levi-ass commentary. I'm just saying Big Pharma's messy. Don't you come at me.
Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway.
Fucking incredible.
At the peak of their hotness.
Oh my God. It's fucking insane.
And I'm not to say that they are not still attractive people, but this is...
on another level. It's not human.
It should have been illegal.
It's unfair to watch this movie and then all the supporting cast features titans like Oliver Platt, Hank Azaria, and Josh Gad. How is this movie not the biggest thing? Also, Drudy Greer's in this.
In case you're unaware, it's a movie about like cognitive degeneration.
Yeah.
So it also
smart.
Is crushingly beautiful. So it's funny. I don't think the comedy's at the forefront.
She gave me so much indie fucking manic pixie dream girl love.
Of course, yeah.
It was 2010. That was the best time for me to discover that kind of woman.
She was. Yeah, that's fun. That's fair. she was channeling the more mainstream version of Rachel getting married, of that character,
Yes.
right?
Yes. She was also Shannon Sauceman in A Knight's Tale again. Like, it was a problem.
Yeah.
She was everything. When you write a perfect girl that can't exist, but then you make them real by having them actually be human in their interactions, right? Like, all of her surface stuff is perfect, too perfect.
Yeah.
And then all of her reactions when things go wrong are too real. So it made her an actual person. And it was also one of the first rom-coms I saw where I was like, oh, look at these people acting real.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal is actually a monster that actually grows, and she actually is a manic pixie dream girl, but has something underneath the shiny album cover.
100%.
Fucking love this movie. Why does no one talk about Love and Other Drugs?
I could not agree more. And again, the fact that like we both own it on Blu-ray is a testament to our love for it.
It's the 2010s long shot. That's what it is.
We do have to take some hotline calls, but let's throw in some last minute honorable mentions. Maybe these are ones that are just as good, but like, if you're looking for a great Valentine's Day evening movie night with your loved one, with your SO.
Yep.
I'm going to throw one out there that didn't get mentioned yet. Scott Pilgrim.
That's near my top. That's a cutie.
Incredibly charming, really cute, very romantic, of a specific era, but incredibly romantic.
Into that. I have an Emily Mortimer double feature.
Okay.
Chaos Theory. No one's seen it. It's fucking delightful.
One of Ray and Ryan Reynolds' best performances.
Easily. And Emily Mortimer.
And also another movie where like the darkness, the human darkness
makes it so much more interesting.
Is also like really dark.
And it's so real. And the comedy is like, you have to breathe like, oh my God, I have to escape this darkness. And it's so well written.
A moment in the hospital.
Fucking incredible.
No spoilers.
Chaos Theory, Emily Mortimer.
Also,
and then,
don't read anything about that movie.
No, nothing.
By the way, I watched that movie like randomly on Netflix.
Yeah.
It was one of those movies that I watched it randomly because the cast. And then when it ended, I read the description and it gives the whole movie away.
Don't know anything. I got it in a 4 for $20 Blockbuster stack because I buy everything Ryan Reynolds. And I'm so glad I knew nothing because I literally just was like, oh, a $4 Ryan Reynolds movie or whatever the fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then in sticking with the powerhouse that is Emily Mortimer.
I think we're going to say the same movie here on the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Lars and the Real Girl. Guys, that's why we do a podcast. Lars and the Real Girl.
Out fucking standing.
Fucking the other Ryan.
Yep.
She's good with Ryans.
Yep. She's great with the Gosling as
and
well.
I think this movie is, if you're going to talk about Midnight in Paris being about love as an abstraction, love in Lars and the Real Girl is holy shit. Like, this is what love feels like when you're in it.
Right.
I've always said Drive is the unofficial sequel to Lars and the Real Girl.
That's kind of dark.
Like the doll goes.
It's kind of depressing.
Right?
I don't like that. That makes Lars and the Real Girl. That's like when you find out that Han and Leia had a shit relationship. And you go like, no, I don't want that. Like,
I like the idea that Lars just like he stays broken.
No.
But yeah, Lars and the Real Girl is one of those slept on indie darlings of a time when like indies were getting a little bit more money, but I don't think they were doing well enough for that market to stay.
Right.
And I'm hoping that's what comes back with streaming, to be honest, is movies like Lars and the Real Girl, where it's like, we need to stream 20 movies because the market demands it. Here's this weird thing.
Right.
Because this movie is so fucking weird. And it's so normalizing weird shit that you're like, I guess I'm not so weird. And that's fucking incredible.
All right, I have another one that needs to get mentioned. It is a powerhouse rom-com.
Okay.
It is a rom-com that proved that a specific comedian of alternative nature rather, can absolutely be as mainstream gets while not compromising his filthy toilet humor.
Okay.
And that is The Wedding Singer.
Oh, okay.
One of the best rom-coms of all time, hands down. It's charming, it's beautiful, it's sad. I just found out a story about the song that she refused to hear the song before shoot day.
Oh, that's cool.
So that she was hearing it for the first time, and that they did that in 2-camera, 1 take, and it wrecked her. And that all of her performance in that is just like 100% organic because she loves Adam. Like they have a very,
I love
they
that.
have like a sibling relationship. They're like a couple who never got together, but love each other the way that you do, like without being, and that hearing that story made me want to rewatch that movie. It's so fucking good. It's hilarious, endlessly funny.
I haven't watched it since I was a kid. You're giving it a lot of praise.
Painfully good.
All right.
Throw out a couple more. Let's each do 2 more.
Okay. I mean, this is the whole episode, guys. We're doing it.
I know. We have hotline calls to do, but we look at an extra long one.
Okay.
This is the benefit of us,
This is the free form. Also, if you like what we're doing, this is exactly the Patron pod, not to shamelessly plug, but it's us literally talking about the thing we've enjoyed in bursts.
It is kind of that.
So this is what we do. I'll go. Okay, I lost my my thing. I gotta go back.
Oh, do you want me to start?
Yeah, give me 2.
I'm gonna throw out another one. The Big Sick.
Oh, that's great.
Based on the real life relationship between Kumail Nanjiani and Emily Gardner. It is, a insane real life story about really, really, really beautiful romantic scenario that's sad. Also, I've said forever that nobody gives credit to Ray Romano as an actor because they just remember Everybody Loves Raymond, and they haven't. I mean, even stuff like Parenthood, I don't think did enough for him as it should have. Like, he is an astounding actor. He's so good in it, along with Holly Hunter, who by the way plays Emily's parents. The Big Sick, outstanding.
I'm gonna go with. I want to bring awareness to an obscure before I go a little bit more mainstream.
Love it.
I'm gonna go Begin Again.
That's on my list as well.
Oh, it's so fucking good. Begin Again is such a experience of actors like passion. Like everyone in this, even fucking James Corden cares in this movie, which I don't know if he has before or since. But everyone in this movie is passionately like about the feeling of feeling, and I think that's really important when discussing love and romance. And the music's beautiful. The cast is fantastic. Mark Ruffalo, Keira Knightley, like Catherine Keener. It's Aya Cash before The Boys. If you're a Boys fan, it's a really special movie, really special like indie darling, and it's from the team that made Sing Street and Once. So if you've seen those two, I feel like this was that middle child between like Sing Street did super well,
right?
Once was the debut,
right? Sure.
And Begin Again came out. Right. And like Begin Again's great.
No,
I think
it's fantastic. And it's also surprisingly good performance from a specific musician who you want to not like, but you go, shit, this guy's a really good actor. In fact, I wish that this person would just stop being a music asshole and just start acting.
Because man, he could act his eyeballs
because
out.
actors never get in trouble. I don't know why the fuck I said any of that. That's the stupid thing to say. Okay. I mentioned this on the Patreon only pod recently. It was one of the classic Albert Brooks movies that everybody has told me for years will be one of my favorites, and they were not wrong. Defending Your Life. Not only is it one of the best movies about romance and incredible romance, it's in my opinion the single best movie about the afterlife. So if you are interested in the afterlife and in the life's, the life's big questions, but also really beautiful romance that is so underplayed. This is one of those movies where there are a lot of romantic movies where I leave the movie thinking like, oh, there wasn't enough between those two people for me to believe the decisions that they made. This is an instance where, by the way, Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep are the romantic leads, where they almost barely interact with each other, and you believe in a moment everything is different.
That's incredible.
It's one of those things where you watch Love at First Sight.
Yeah.
And they don't have like these long drawn out conversations that are 2 hours long or these crazy experiences that they go through. It's very much like a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
But surrounding the afterlife in a way that's so beautiful. Defending Your Life. Find it. It's outstanding. 1991, Albert Brooks's best. I mean, by the way, all of his movies are incredible. If you don't watch Albert Brooks's movies, you're missing out. But this one specifically is outstanding. Rip Torn is incredible in it. It's outstanding.
All right. I feel like this is a very fitting last rom-com.
What is it?
It is a movie that is often misinterpreted. It is a movie starring one of my favorite actors of all time. It is a movie that I only have...
If you say Venom, I'm going to fucking kill you.
It's a man and his symbiote, and that's a very beautiful romance. It is a movie that I only have two relationships that I look back on all my relationships positively, but only two of them, if I had a time machine, would I change? I would want them both to end, but I would have tweaked things with two of them. The rest, I think, were all net positive. This is one of the two. And ironically, we got back together after watching this movie, and that's why it's so personal, because it's a movie that...
So what you're saying is don't watch this with an ex that you know you shouldn't be with.
Yes, I'm saying that. And it's a movie that I think the misinterpretation tied directly into my relationship, so it's almost autobiographical. It is 500 Days of Summer.
I fucking love this movie.
This is a movie about Joseph Gordon-Levitt as our protagonist, who, if you actually watch it, is the antagonist, and it is
100%. Yeah,
but it is genius. Like I was in a relationship where it basically was we both loved each other, but I didn't know how to be in a relationship. And this is a movie about two people that love each other, and he doesn't know how to be in a relationship.
You know what? This is the way I'm going to pitch 500 Days of Summer. If you watched How I Met Your Mother and you liked it, but you found Ted Mosby to be an annoying romantic protagonist, all of the reasons that you felt that way are explored in 500 Days of Summer.
Brilliantly and with such flavor and
there's
flourish.
a nuance. And by the way, Mark Webb, Spider-Man 2.
His debut.
Like this 500 Days of Summer is also on the list. I didn't mention it just because there's so many.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I saw this
more.
at the Boston International Film Festival 3 months before it came out. This is actually also my first taste of seeing a movie early and then seeing the world discover it, which is like I do for a living now. But it was really interesting to be like, I feel like that was like really genre redefining. And then it came out and everybody was like, oh my God.
He's a greeting card author.
Yeah.
Like that's how on the
so,
nose.
but it's so good.
It's real good.
And you will fall so madly in love with Zoe. And then like,
already.
I mean, you should be, but it's also like so whip smart and every supporting cast member is great. There's a reason Mark Webb got Spider-Man from it. There's a reason they should have let him make the Gwen Stacy movie he tried to make, but it is a pitch perfect love story about love and stories. And it's a good cautionary tale.
Love every minute of it.
Yep, that is a 50-minute rant about love.
Just a small segment. We were going to talk about some comic couples as well.
Want to do it real quick, or should we get to the hotline call?
Do we throw that over on the Patreon only pod?
Ooh, let's do that. Oh yeah, because we have one dropping this week. Okay, Patreon only pod. We're going to talk about comic love.
Yeah. So we'll talk about some comic romance on. It'll come out actually on Valentine's Day.
That is perfect. We got to
yesterday.
Got to.
So those of patrons already know. They're like, we already know you did this.
That's a weird thing to decide on the air.
But maybe it'll get some folks to be like, you know what, I want to hear about some comic.
If you liked all these movie rants, that's what we do over there. I'm telling you.
This was very much a little taste of
this is an extended patron only pod.
We do have a couple hotline calls that we should get to
this because we're not back till March. Frankly,
let's bang this out.
Hi again, Coy and Jake. This is Doug from Pittsburgh, or Darth Vadad on the Discord. Since you're trying out some new ways of doing things this year, have you considered partnering with a local comic shop to do a location recording session talking to people about comics? I know it would be a pain for Jake to deal with on the technical setup and the editing, but it might be fun on a special occasion like Free Comic Book Day. If it worked out, maybe you could visit a different shop each year. Anyway, it was just a thought I had. Looking forward to the new and approved Coycast. Thanks.
Well, you just got a taste of it. We sometimes rant a long time about great stuff, which we should do. I love that idea. I love that out of comics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to doing fun stuff in shops. God knows we definitely have connections to shops locally.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like figuring out what makes it unique to do that.
Yeah, because you guys can't see it. To be like, what's happening?
I would be more than happy to do that if we had specific guests lined up.
Yeah.
Or I would also be more than happy to start doing like interviews of comic shop owners. Why did you get into owning a comic shop? Well,
or what are you buying? What
are you risking? Well, the problem with that is people. You don't want to grab anybody off the street. That's going to be a lot of editing on my part.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. We should talk to professionals.
I love this idea, and you're right. This is the sort of thing that we can now play with.
Yeah.
In the new format,
and it was really fun to do that remote episode with WonderCon. So that sort of
absolutely.
Thing. So yeah, I love that idea, and also thank you so much for Christmas. Really, really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we're working on all sorts of fun stuff. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Coy. Hey, producer Jake. This is Gilbert up in the Bay Area, and I had a couple books that I wanted to recommend for the 2022. These are my favorite books. I did some catching up on my books last week, and these were some great gems that might have been under the radar because they're not, standard superhero books, but I think that they have a lot of potential, and they're really, really great books. My favorite book of the year was this wonderful Image book called Do a Powerbomb, and it tells a story about family and tragedy and dealing with grief, but it happens to be told through the lens of wrestling and a family that is a wrestling family, but it's also science fiction, and it's just batshit crazy. It's the best of everything in that list if you're into it. I also read a Barbaric by Vault Comics, and it's this violent, bloody D&D inspired book about a barbarian that is cursed with having to kill evil souls with a talking axe that gets drunk on blood. It's also batshit. It's wonderful. I love writers when they kind of push the medium and they make, they know what they're doing and they just go as crazy as possible. The artist and writer for Do a Powerbomb was also the artist and writer for the Wonder Woman Dead Earth graphic novel from a couple years back. and there are 3 trades out for Barbaric. There's the first trade, which is just called Barbaric, I believe, and the second one is called Axe to Grind. The third arc, Hell to Pay, just started last week, I think. So if you guys will give these a chance, I promise you'll like them. And I hope you guys have a wonderful new year, a wonderful week with comics. I'm happy to keep telling you these if you're into me telling you comics I'm liking. But otherwise, I'm sorry this is over 2 minutes long, but you guys have a good week. And stay sweaty, guys.
Gilbert Short, first off, happy birthday.
Very important.
I just looked up this Barbaric, which sounds like my kind of book here. And it looks very hilarious, specifically the design of the axe, which is like, it's just an axe with a giant face on the front of it with his tongue hanging out. Are you familiar with this book?
I am. It's fun.
Oh. It looks like literally you could just read the first issue for free on Google. Like it looks like books.google.com.
No shit.
Like when I Googled it, I clicked this link.
And it's the book.
Look, it's like the whole first issue.
Oh, there you go. That's a good way to get people in.
I think it's the whole first issue. If
That's
not,
fantastic.
It can't be the whole first trade. No. Oh, wait. Does it only show you up to a specific spot? Because I don't know if that's the last page or not. But that's a lot of pages.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know.
You see all that, right?
Yeah, maybe the library. I don't know. Sometimes the library scan them and you can read comics online.
But yeah, Barbaric sounds fun. I don't. Oh, it says preview 27 pages.
So it must be the first trade preview, maybe? Because that's a comic.
Page count 104.
Yeah. So the first trade's probably 4 issues, and that's almost the first.
So Barbaric Volume 1, it says Murderable Offenses is the name. He says it was just called Barbaric, but maybe they've changed it or something. Yeah. That's
Either
fun.
way,
what was that? Have you heard the other one? That
Do a Powerbomb. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I know a lot of people loved it. It's an Image comic that a lot of people dug. I dug the artist and stuff. It's just the wrestling I just don't connect with as much.
Sure.
But if you like both as you listen to this show, by all means, definitely check it out. And yeah, whenever you got a comic that you are passionate about, please call in. That's anyone. 818-794-0722 with your comic book love. I actually went through I went through all of the comics I gave A's last year and tried to make a top like 20, and it ended up being like a top 40. And I was like, this is not interesting to anyone but me.
Yeah.
Like and I also was like, this is an hour-long video. No one's going to watch an hour of me.
Too much stuff.
Yeah, I just love comics, you guys. So share that passion.
Hey, Koicast. This is Mask Llama of the Legendary Fighting Federation. And I was just calling because I know we as comic book fans can talk about our favorite story arcs until the cows come home, and then we will continue to tell the cows about our favorite story arcs. I was wondering if you had any single issue stories that you thought were particularly special, just one shots, so to speak, that were just like, yeah, that issue was great, and I will cherish it forever. Anyway, that was just my question. Have a good day, y'all. Take care, and Happy New Year. Well, it's way too late to be Happy New Year. Happy Chinese New Year? Lunar New Year? Have a good day.
Mass Llama calling from the room that James McAvoy kept those girls in and Split.
100%. It sounds like the lights are dim. I don't know what's happening.
Sounds like he didn't want to wake people up or get caught making a phone call.
He's like, I can talk about comics in this room, but I have to ask this question.
Blink loudly twice if you're in danger, Mass Llama.
I also love that Mass Llama's name is Mass Llama, and he always sounds like a different person in disguise.
He does. His voice does change quite a bit.
It's like the 4th different Mass Llama voice I've heard.
Maybe it's like actual luchadors where it gets passed along. Like the name and mask gets passed along.
Right.
Sometimes.
Anyone can wear the Mass Llama.
Anyways,
one shots.
Favorite single issues.
I mean, The Boy Who Collected Spider-Man is my immediate first instinct.
Okay.
That is probably the best. Do you know the comic I'm talking about?
No, I don't think
so. It's called The Boy Who Collects Spider-Man, and Spider-Man goes to visit this kid in the hospital that's dying.
Oh, I do remember that.
Oh my God,
yes,
that issue. It's a single issue, and it just breaks you in so many ways.
Right.
And it's what Spider-Man is. It's what, if you want to know Spider-Man, read this issue. That's that good.
Yeah.
And like, it's the art's stunning. It was in peak Spidey time. That issue was only like 3 or 4 issues away from Spider-Man vs. the Juggernaut, which is a great 2-issue story.
Right.
But yeah, that's when Spidey was hitting all cylinders. I love that issue.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because I mostly read trades.
Yeah, that is hard.
So having an issue stand out within the trade is always tough for me.
Yeah.
Even though they occur every now and then.
Sure.
Like every now and then they'll be like,
wow.
Here's this one off. And I'll be like, oh man, this one issue. And they tend to be that sort of story. They tend to be like, oh, hey, we're going to do an issue where we know all the stories going on and we're going to continue all that. But this one issue is about this thing that's happening over here.
Yeah.
It's like the bottle episode of the TV show or the one episode, or like, for example, the episode of Sandman about the cats.
Right.
It's like, it's that in a comic book
Yeah,
form.
the Fly episode in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's crazy.
But
yeah, it's hard to
right.
It's also like we both read a fair amount of comic books and remembering like the details. I just know the Kid Who Collects Spider-Man because it was the thing that I like showed people.
Yeah, I mean, since we're failing to answer this one adequately,
Days of Future Past is only 2 issues, by the way.
we're gonna throw. Oh, that's true.
That's impressive.
I remember when I bought the trade and it was just 2 issues.
It's
and I was
crazy.
like, why is it so thin?
Why-
It was like when I bought the Batman Spawn crossover, like in the 90s. And I
What
went
is
like,
this?
I went like, this is no bigger than the issue of what is this? Nothing. Anyways,
most of mine are Spider-Man, and that's not fair to other Marvel characters
Right.
or DC characters.
sure. So anyway, what I was gonna say is since we're failing to answer this adequately with a ton of recs, I want to throw this to the listeners. It's a great question. Throw your answers. Join the Discord. Head on over to the Discord.
Yeah.
Throw in the Discord. Mass Llama is in the Discord, so make sure you tag him every time you answer the question.
I'd
And
love
be
to hear, especially if it's single issue is a great way to jump into a character.
Right,
so
of
if there's
course.
something I haven't read, or if there's something I haven't read in a long time, I'd love to just like pop into one issue.
Absolutely.
So please.
And like that's a sort of thing where it's like, oh, if you have a trial for Comixology or Marvel
Yeah.
Unlimited, you can be like, oh, maybe I can find that one issue. And that way you can decide whether you want to invest in the trade.
It's a really
Or
good
you
way to
want to
discover characters.
Yeah.
That's a great call.
Yeah, so please join the Discord and answer that question for everybody in the community. That does it for the hotline calls where we have time to take. There was one other call we want to just throw some credit to. Travis from Florida gave us an incredibly fun question that is we can't wait to answer.
Yeah.
We want to make it like the main event of an episode. We knew today's episode was going to be very romance themed and it doesn't quite fit the theme. So I just want to let you know, Travis,
It's coming.
We're going to answer that at a future time because it's a fun idea for an episode.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for this week's Valentine's centric episode. We really appreciate you guys being here. I hope you have some love in your life, whether it's love towards a person, an animal, a city. I
Chocolat.
love chocolat itself, the concept of love. So if you're feeling cynical this Valentine's Day, if you're feeling alone, know that, one, we love you. But two, love is something that you can feel in many directions. And I think it's an important holiday to look at what love means to you. And hopefully that helps lighten the day a bit if it's heavy. But please do rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts. That lightens our day. You can also leave a rating over on Spotify now. And those reviews I even love when they're negative because like Jake, it's fun to be a little sassy back at the, he's got to watch less Sundance movies.
Also, everybody, we're not going to be for everybody. We're just people.
Yeah. And also I wouldn't want to be for everybody. That sounds boring.
Sure.
And some people I don't like, so I wouldn't want them to like me. That just doesn't work.
Makes sense.
Also, check out koicast.com for merch. We got shirts, we got mugs, we got masks. Soon, we gonna have hats. You can also check out the Patreon where we did dive in kind of like we did today into all sorts of movies and shows and art that we've enjoyed the week prior. And that is a weekly show over on the Patreon. And you get the chance to be an unpunchable gift horse. If you don't know what that means, well, I'm sorry. It's pretty dynamic and it's an exciting thing. And that is going to do it for this week. Like I said, but you can follow us on social media at KoiJandro and at Jake Lloyd Bacon. Use hashtag KoiCast to get our attention. And one last time, 818-794-0722, or you can send a voice memo to contact@koicast.com. Thank you for being here, you lovelies. More than ever this week. Love, you lovelies. We'll see you soon. Thank you for listening, and thank you to comic books for existing.
In the mid-1960s, the world's smartest TV producers brought together 4 young musicians to create a TV show that was years ahead of its time. I'm talking, of course, about the Monkees. And you, comedy, music, pop culture nerd, probably love the show, but don't realize it. That's why I, Monkees superfan Takuro McCullough, sit down with a variety of guests to watch every Monkees episode and discuss their glory on the Monkees podcast. Whether you're already a fan or have never seen an episode, the Monkees podcast is for you, as we discuss the Monkees phenomenon, hilarious antics, and deep fandom. So check it out at monkeespodcast.com, that's PAWDCAST, or wherever podcasts are found.
It's Dragon Wagon.